The Ocean's Pride was a modest fishing vessel manned by a crew of 5. Captain Samuel Briggs, his son Andrew, the brothers Jacob and Eli, and a quiet deckhand named Marlowe. They sailed the frigid waters of the North Atlantic, always hunting for a big catch to bring back to the hungry coastal town of Gray Harbor. One fateful morning, the sea was unusually still, the kind of stillness that made even seasoned sailors uneasy. The sun hung low, casting a strange, golden light over the horizon. As they ventured farther from shore, a thick mist began to roll in, swallowing the ship in an eerie silence. Then they heard it. A soft, melodic hum drifted through the air, faint but unmistakable. It wasn't the sound of the wind or the groaning of the hull. It was a voice. No, not one voice, several, harmonizing in a hauntingly beautiful tune. "What is that?" Andrew asked, his wide eyes scanning the fog. "Just the wind," Captain Briggs muttered, though his grip on the wheel tightened. "Keep your ears sharp and your wits sharper." But the crew was already entranced. The song grew louder, weaving its way into their minds like a gentle tide. Jacob was the first to move toward the edge of the ship, his expression slack. "They're calling for us," he whispered. "Jacob, get back here," Samuel barked, but the man didn't listen. Eli rushed after his brother, grabbing him by the arm. "Snap out of it, Jacob. It's not real." Jacob turned, his face pale and eyes glazed. "Can't you hear it, Eli? They're waiting for us." The mist parted slightly, revealing a small island not marked on their charts. Its rocky shore was dotted with smooth, pale stones, and the faint glimmer of water cascading from a hidden spring caught the crew's attention. Perched on the rocks were shadowy figures, their outlines barely visible in the fog. The singing became clearer as they approached. "Turn the ship around," Marlowe said suddenly, breaking his usual silence. His voice was firm, almost desperate. "Now." Samuel hesitated. The song tugged at his thoughts, promising peace, abundance, and a warmth he hadn't felt in years. He shook his head and gripped the wheel tighter. "No, we'll anchor here. Maybe there's food, fresh water." Marlowe grabbed Samuel by the arm, his eyes wild. "It's not what you think. It's them." "What are you talking about?" But before Marlowe could answer, Andrew let out a cry. He had climbed over the railing and was staring at the figures on the rocks, his expression one of awe. "They're beautiful," he whispered. "Andrew, no," Samuel shouted, but it was too late. Andrew jumped into the water, swimming toward the island. As he approached, the figures on the rocks came into focus. They were women, at least they appeared to be. Their hair was long and flowing, their skin pale as moonlight, but their eyes glinted with an unnatural light, and their smiles revealed sharp, needle-like teeth. Andrew reached the shore, and one of the women leaned down, stroking his face. Her song grew louder, a crescendo of unearthly beauty. Then, with a sudden motion, she plunged her claws into his chest, dragging him beneath the waves. The crew watched in horror as the water turned crimson. "They're sirens!" Marlowe shouted. "We have to leave now." The remaining men scrambled to raise the anchor, but the fog seemed to thicken, the song growing louder and more frantic. The sirens began swimming toward the ship, their faces twisted with hunger. Eli screamed as one leapt aboard, her claws slashing across his throat. Jacob lunged at her with a harpoon, but another siren pulled him into the sea. Her laughter echoing in the mist, Samuel fought to steer the ship away, but the sirens surrounded it, their claws raking the hull. Marlowe, the last uninjured, grabbed a flare gun and fired it into the sky. The flash of red light seemed to startle the creatures, giving them a brief reprieve. "Come on!" Marlowe shouted, pulling Samuel from the wheel. Together, they managed to cut the ropes and unfurl the sails. The wind, as if summoned, caught the canvas and propelled the Ocean's Pride away from the island. The sirens screamed, their melodic voices turning to guttural wails as they disappeared into the fog. When the ship finally emerged into open waters, the sun was setting, and the air was eerily calm. The deck was smeared with blood, and the ship had been badly damaged. Of the original 5, only Samuel and Marlowe remained. "What were they?" Samuel asked, his voice hollow. Marlowe stared at the horizon, his expression grim. The sea's greatest predators. They don't want fish. They want us. Years later, sailors would speak of the ocean's pride and the cursed voyage into the mist. They'd warn of the Siren's song, a melody too beautiful to resist and too deadly to survive. And on quiet nights, when the fog rolls in, some claim you can still hear them calling, soft, alluring, and hungry.